Okay, here's integrated 3(9-138). It says, what is the exact value for each of the following trig expressions? And for part G and H, assume that theta is in between 0 and 2 pi. So we'll start with, they want the cosine of 3 pi over 4. So 3 pi over 4 is an angle measure, and that's in radians. You could convert it to degrees if you want to, but we have already made unit circles and we've got radian measures, so I'm just going to look on my unit circle, find the radian measure that's 3 pi over 4. So this is 1 pi over 4, 2 pi over 4. Here's 3 pi over 4, and then I know that cosine is the x value. So cosine is negative root 2 over 2. So that's all they want. And for B, they want tangent of 4 pi over 3. So tangent is sine over cosine. So let's find 4 pi over 3. So here's 1 pi over 3, 2 pi over 3, 3 pi over 3, 4 pi over 3 is right down here. So 4 pi over 3, it's going to be, ooh, I need scratch paper. I'll have to do fraction math now. 4 pi over 3 is going to be sine over cosine. So it's going to be negative root 3 over 2 over negative 1/2. Okay, so tangent is sine over cosine. So that's why I did that. And then this, I'm just going to multiply the top and bottom by negative 1/2. Okay, that cancels out, and then this becomes root 3 over 4. So, and let me check that. Oh wait, no, sorry, root. Oh, I messed up. I did bad fraction math. I should just delete this video, but I'm too lazy, so I'm not going to. Tangent of 4 pi over 3. Remember I said it was sine over cosine, so negative root 3 over 2 over negative 1/2. I'm going to multiply by 2 this time instead of 1/2. Multiply by negative 2. Okay, those cancel out. Usually I just flip and multiply. And then that goes away, and I think I should get a negative times a negative is a positive. I'm going to get root 3 for this one, so the answer is root 3. Sorry, next time I'm going to flip and multiply. Okay, so sine of 11 pi over 6. Well, 1 pi over 6, 2 pi over 6, 3 pi over 6, 4 pi over 6. There's 5 pi over 6. That would be 6 pi over 6, 7 pi over 6, 8 pi over 6, 9 pi over 6. Oh, it's right here. 11 pi over 6. So what do I want? Sine. So this is cosine is the x. So sine. Sine is negative 1/2. See, I'm just reading it off. I could actually draw a unit circle and draw my special triangles, reference angle triangles, and I could do it that way if I wanted to. Letter D is sine of 3 pi over 4. We'll go a little faster now. So 3 pi over 4, that's 1 pi over 4, 2 pi over, there's 3 pi over 4 right here, and sine is the y value, so it's going to be root 2 over 2. Okay, and then tangent of 5 pi over 4. So 5 pi over 4, 1 pi over 4, 2 pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, 5 pi over 4 is right here, and I want tangent. So lucky for me, tangent, see how these are the same exact number, the x and the y? So sine over cosine, it's going to be root 2 over 2 over root 2 over 2, and they're both negatives, negative divided by negative, so the answer is just going to be 1. So that is nice. Didn't have to do any fraction math, because anything over itself equals 1. Okay, 17 pi over 6, well, here's 11 pi over 6. I guess it's going around and around even more than once, right? So that's 11 pi over 6. So I guess this would be 12 pi over 6. 13 pi over 6. Oh my goodness. 14 pi over 6, 15 pi over 6, 16 pi over 6. I think right here is going to be 17 pi over 6. And they want the tangent. So tangent is sine over cosine. So it's going to be 1/2 over negative root 3 over 2. This time I'm just going to flip and multiply if you don't mind. So that went away. I multiplied by the reciprocal. These cancel out, and I get negative 1 over root 3. If I rationalize that, I can rationalize it like this. And that will show up as negative root 3 over 3. Your answer book has it as, it has it both ways. I'll just leave it as negative root 3 over 3 since I did all that work. Okay, so this one is the inverse tangent of 1. So what that's saying is, what it's asking me is, at what angle is tangent equal to 1? What's the angle measure where tangent equals 1? So luckily I just did a problem right here where tangent was 1. So I know that's going to be one of the angle measures. 5 pi over 4, I'll go ahead and write that one down. But there's going to be other angle measures probably. So remember the 5 pi over 4, that was down here. And remember I said anything over itself is 1. So see how these are the exact same, the sine and the cosine are the exact same thing. So when you divide one by the other, you just get 1. There's one more place where this happens. I mean, it happens over here, but we have, that's going to give me a negative 1 because I've got a positive and a negative, positive, or a negative divided by a positive. So this right here, though, this will give me 1. This is 45 degrees. This is pi over 4. So those are the two answers. I probably should have wrote pi over 4 first and then the 5 pi over 4. And then there's, when is it going to be, when's tangent going to be negative 1? Well, we just said that a second ago. It's positive 1 here. It's basically, these are the 45, 45, 90 triangles. There's 4 of them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. So over here, at 3 pi over 4, we're going to get a negative 1. Let me write that down. And then there's another spot somewhere. It's at 7 pi over 4. And I know I could keep going around and around and around this circle, but it told me for letters G and H that keep my theta in between 0 and 2 pi. So I just looked at the ones on the unit circle, and I didn't keep going around and around. And that's it.